How much do you have to have saved for retirement? That's one of the biggest questions that we get asked as retirement planners, but the answer is it really depends. It depends on where those assets are located, the type of assets. Are they in taxable accounts? Are there large RSPs? Is there a pension? This video is going to be extremely interesting. We're going to look at 4 different ways to achieve the same retirement goal. We're going to look at 4 different ways to achieve the same retirement spending in retirement with the same success rate. We're going to look at a situation with high RSP assets. We're going to look at another situation with a mix of assets, RSP, TFSA, non-registered. We're going to look at another situation with some financial assets, but also a pension. And then we're going to look at a 4th situation where there's a downsize in retirement. We want to highlight that even though the end goal is the exact same, the way to get there and how much you need to save could be wildly different depending on your situation. Now, to do this, we're going to use the Advice platform. Now, Advice was built for fee-only and advice-only financial planners to do collaborative financial planning with their clients, but you can access it directly. We made it available directly to you for just $9 per month. This is a highly powerful platform. It's the same platform that fee-only and advice-only financial planners use, and now you can access it directly, including all of the AI tools. You can access the AI platform, the AI strategies, as well as video instructions, a community for support, as well as bi-monthly webinars that we do just to answer questions and to look at different retirement planning case studies. Now we're going to be working with Sean and Cindy. Sean and Cindy are both age 65. Their life expectancy we're going to use is age 95. Their aim is to spend $7,500 per month in retirement, about $90,000 per year after tax. Their investment portfolio is a balanced risk profile, so 60-40 asset allocation with 0.5%, so 0.5% annual fee. This gives us an after-fee return of 4.89%. This is in line with FP Canada rate of return assumptions. And we're going to assume that they're getting full old age security, but less than the maximum CPP benefit. Let's walk through the first example here. We've got the RSP focused portfolio. As you can see already from this net worth chart, we've got a lot of registered assets, not very much in TFSAs. Sean and Cindy were probably high income earners maxing out their TFSA before retirement, maxing out their RSP before retirement. And they're both age 65. So both age 65, looking to draw down their assets. Again, spending $7,500 a month after tax, $90,000 per year is their goal. And let's take a look at their income sources. So in this example, we've got $1.36 million in total portfolio. Again, a lot of this is in registered accounts. Remember, there's a tax liability here, so a lot of that registered assets is going to be lost to tax as they draw down their retirement portfolio throughout the course of retirement. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to maximize their after-tax income and minimize the tax that they're going to have to pay. Now you can see here we've already done a few things, so let's explore these AI strategies and let's see what we've enabled within this RSP-focused retirement plan. So let's toggle by the strategy here. So as you can see, we've done a couple things. Let me group by strategy. We've delayed CPP and old age security to age 70 for both Sean and Cindy. This does give us an opportunity to draw down those large registered assets. If you've watched some of our RSP meltdown videos in the past, then you'll know why we're doing this. We want to get some of those assets out while we have an opportunity. We don't want to trigger old age security clawbacks later. So we're taking the opportunity now to delay some of those government benefits, get a bunch of money out of the RSP earlier on in retirement. That also helps with liquidity, so we've got more in the TFSA later, so there's also an opportunity there. And that's the main focus within this plan. We're not doing any fancy RSP meltdown or anything like that. Just by delaying those benefits, we're taking some very large RSP withdrawals in those first few years of retirement. This helps us bring down the registered from about $1.2 million down to under $1 million by age 70. So they're doing a good job at drawing down those assets. Overall success rate, 80%, pretty good. So we've got a pretty good success rate over time, and they've been able to fund the retirement spending of $7,500 per month. So in this case, we've got $1.36 million in financial assets. Again, most of that in registered accounts, and there's a big tax liability there. So that total asset balance that they're aiming for in this particular case is quite high. But let's look at another situation to see how that might change. Okay, in this situation, we've got Sean and Cindy again. They're still both age 65. They're still aiming for the same retirement spending, but we've got a different mix of assets here. We have less in registered accounts. we've got some in non-registered, some in TFSA. It could be from the sale of a property. It could be from maybe a severance package at work. It could be any number of things. It could be the sale of a business, a small business. But they've got most of their money not in registered accounts, but split in between the 3 different types of accounts: RSP, TFSA, non-registered. So as a result, they don't need quite as much in assets because there's not as large a tax liability. Now, not quite a big difference here. So there's $70,000 difference versus the last scenario we just saw. Roughly the same success rate at 80%, same spending overall, so $90,000 a year in retirement, $7,500 per month, but different income mix here. So we've got non-registered and registered being drawn down at the same time. We're still delaying CPP and old age security until age 70. Gives us an opportunity to draw down those registered accounts, but we're not drawing them down as quickly because there's not as much assets there. So we're mixing withdrawals here. So let's take a look at what we've done. We've got a decumulation order here. So we've got a mixture of accounts. So we can see we're mixing TFSA and registered here at the end. We're mixing non-registered and registered. We also have an RSP meltdown here for Sean. So we're melting down the RSP, trying to hit certain tax brackets, it looks like. And it seems like that's about it. So in this scenario, we've got an RSP meltdown, we've got delaying these benefits, and we've got a slight mixture of withdrawals. So we're not just doing one and then the other. We're doing a mixture of withdrawals here with TFSA and registered at the same time. This does help them smooth out their tax rate all the way out through retirement. Not as much tax to pay. Similar overall net worth in the end, 1.3, 1.4 million. Similar success rate, but definitely less in terms of what they need to aim for net worth, because there's not as much tax liability here. So they can aim for $70,000 less at retirement than the previous example. Now in this example, we've got the same situation again, Sean and Cindy. We've got age 65 for both of them. But what's interesting here is we've got a pension. So if I go over here, we've got a pension of $24,000 a year. That's giving us some retirement income. We need less in registered withdrawals. So we've got less registered assets, makes sense. The pension means that they wouldn't be maybe contributing as much to RSPs. And we've still got some TFSA and non-registered assets. So as we can see here, total financial assets, kind of then that first year, $700,000, significantly less due to the pension than the previous examples. So here, overall success rate, very similar, 79%, so no change there, but significantly less in financial assets. And this pension isn't even that large at $24,000 per year. So significantly less assets that this situation, this couple would need to aim for with the same retirement spending of $90,000 a year, $7,500 per month. Let's just take a look at what we've acted here. So we've got the same CPP and OAS delay. We've got some RSP meltdown strategies actually. Now we've got one for Sean and Cindy here. And so we're drawing down some of those registered assets. But again, we probably don't have quite as much. So we're just trying to manage tax throughout retirement, triggering a little bit of tax early in retirement. And then we've got a little bit of tax, a little bit more tax later in retirement. But overall, what's interesting is we have a much smaller net worth here. Obviously, with the pension, we have less of an opportunity to have a larger estate value. So 1.1, 1.2 million versus 1.3, 1.4 in the other examples. Now in this last example, we've got no pension. We've got RSP, TFSA, non-registered assets, but we've got a downsize that we're planning for later on in retirement. So we've got around a $900,000 home being downsized to a $600,000 home at age 70. So at that point, we're freeing up some assets. So we've got a whole bunch of assets that get freed up. Equity gets freed up in the downsize. That does help from an overall net worth perspective because they can draw down those assets and replenish them when the downsize occurs. That means that even though they're still spending the same, they're still aiming for $90,000 a year, $7,500 per month. They need less in net worth as a starting net worth because there's a downsize that they're expecting later on in retirement. So, same situation as the first or second example. In those examples, we had around 1.3 million or more in total financial assets. Here we only need 900,000. So here we've got $900,000, but we're replenishing those assets with the equity in the home a little bit later in retirement. Now, overall success rate still 78%. A little bit more of a difference here because we're replenishing those assets at age 70. And overall net worth, the estate value is quite a bit lower, so 900,000, just simply because we're liquidating some of the real estate assets, the equity, to fund retirement spending. But here we need significantly less in terms of starting portfolio balance at the start of retirement, because we know that there's going to be some equity freed up when they plan to downsize around age 70. Now, the other interesting thing is that we've got a mixture of income here. So we've got non-registered and registered in early retirement. Then once that's depleted, we switch to TFSA and registered. That's probably because we're doing a bit of an RSP meltdown here. So we're drawing a certain amount from the registered accounts every year just to manage taxes. What's interesting is that those assets get replenished during the downsize. So we can see that there's no non-registered after a few years, but that gets replenished during the downsize. So we've got another non-registered balance that we can draw down. We've got the TFSA that we're maxing out every year after that. So we max it out after we downsize. We replenish all of those withdrawals that we made in the first couple of years of retirement. So we replenish those when we do the downsize. We draw down non-registered first, but still mixing withdrawals. So here we've got CPP, OAS, registered withdrawals, and non-registered. And then later in retirement, that switches to TFSA withdrawals. So this really helps them manage tax all the way throughout retirement. Knowing that they have a downsize, they can be a bit more aggressive with retirement spending, even though that their retirement balance, their starting investment assets, is significantly lower than those first two examples. Now, it's very important that you build a retirement plan specific to your situation. As we just saw, even with the same retirement spending goal, the same investment returns, the same risk profile, the same ages, we saw wildly different goals and expectations for retirement assets, different tax planning opportunities, different drawdown strategies, different timing for CPP and old age security benefits, all depending on the type of assets and the plan for retirement. So with the downsize, way less required in financial assets. So if that's part of your plan, make sure that you include that in your retirement plan, your decumulation plan. If you've got lots of RSP assets, you have to account for the tax liability there. If you've got a mixture of assets, then how are you drawing that down? How are you mixing those assets and those withdrawals to minimize tax and smooth tax out over the course of retirement? Are you doing an RSP meltdown? Are you hitting a certain tax bracket in retirement? This type of retirement planning is super important. If you haven't started a retirement plan yet, I would highly encourage you to do so. A detailed retirement plan is going to help you in those last few years of accumulation. Make sure that you're aiming for the right number, that you're not aiming for too much. If you've got to downsize, we don't need to aim for that much in retirement. So make sure you have a detailed retirement plan. Make sure you know your tax liability, how much you can spend, and the success rate of that plan over the course of a longer retirement period. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'd love it if you can like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks again.